Okay. So we'll talk about the full moon tonight, but as I do, I continue to study the moon and um and this moon cycle. And as you know, I think of the moon work, it's about manifesting what you want in your life, but I also consider it a healing tool because I think there's a relationship between our healing and our wholeness and also having what we want in life. They're not really even separate, right? I'll show you that in the diagram. Let me share my PowerPoint. And I'll tell you what, okay, so one of the things that you learn at, let me find my thing. Oh my gosh, I can't see my slides. Okay, let me just close these windows and see if I can find here it is, my slideshow. One of the things we learn at PSI is, and this, I believe this is, I think I believe this was true before I went there and, saw it in the course of the experiential exercises, is that we are creating our own reality. And some of it we create consciously and deliberately. And a lot of our reality we create subconsciously. And the moon is related to our subconscious. And there's an ebb and flow of, the ebb and flow of the moon and the waxing and the waning. It is affecting us on our subconscious level. And it's bringing things in, right? There's like we've talked about with dreams, and there's stuff coming in from our, I would say, higher selves and from our guides and from God. And there's also stuff like percolating up from our childhood and the programming from the, right? There's a lot in our, so I guess partially I want to talk about our energy field. Okay. So the full moon, we use this as a self-reflection time, the full moon. And so I want to talk about this part of the process, but how it relates to our subconscious and how to hopefully really hone in on making the moon work more powerful and more effective. I guess that's my goal of what I want to talk about tonight. And let me see. I mean, most of these things, the full moon is illuminating. The full moon is a really great time for self-reflection and for clarity. And something we've talked about, although I want to emphasize it partially for you guys and partially for whoever might watch the video, is I want you to look at your life honestly, and critically, like maybe with I keep forgetting the word, like discerningly, but in a non-judgmental way, because truly we all do the best in our lives, and a lot of what we are creating on the subconscious level, we don't really have any control over it because it's subconscious and it comes from our childhood. And I think it even potentially comes from past life programming and what we've talked about, that generational, trauma and stuff like that. I know we've had conversations about that. So, I mean, we're responsible, but for what we create in our life, but not really to blame for what we create in our life, right? A lot of our experiences and our subconscious beliefs and energies about ourselves, a lot of our subconscious things going on in our energy field is not stuff we deliberately created. So as you know, the moon is related to our emotions and our psyche, and like I say, our subconscious. It's kind of the way energy moves in and out of us. I would say, how you stick a magnet in the, that they show you in school, you stick a magnet in the copper tube and it moves and it creates electromagnetic energy. There's something with the moon and the way that it rotates around the earth that is, kind of vibrating our or the Earth's energy field and also our own energy field. So there is I wouldn't say that I have fully, this is such a big concept. I want to admit that I don't have a full grasp of it, but I have a glimpse of a grasp of it that I think is important for understanding how why, I guess, how and why we align with the moon, why it is effective practice. So I guess I wrote here, the moon has a mysterious relationship to our energy body. I do think the moon affects us, like we've talked about with water. It's affecting the electromagnetic field onto the earth, and it's affecting the tides, and it is affecting us because we are connected to the earth, and we're also connected to the moon in a pretty profound way. I mean, I think it's sort of like the fish in water. It's impossible because we are the fish in water to even assess how significant the moon is in our energetic field. So I want to talk a little bit about the chakras. So I asked a question. The way we think of in psychology, with like Freud's, I should have put the iceberg in there, but you've probably seen a drawing of Freud's iceberg, and we got our conscious awareness, and then the subconscious, is like 15% is our conscious awareness, and then that like 85% is the. I mean, I think there's that's a model, and there's some truth to that. I think that's accurate in some ways about representing what we're consciously aware of and what we're not consciously aware of. Although I think the electromagnetic field, our energy field, our aura, you can have, it's more complicated. Like this model of the chakras is a more complex model of how the conscious and the subconscious work, I would say. So, okay, for example, as you both are aware, when you have a childhood trauma or event, it's in your energy field, right? It's in your memory, it's in your body, it's in your somatic tissue, it's in your energy field. And that's something we carry around with us our whole lives. We can have healings and change things, but those things are stored in our energy field. So that's one way that I think it's important to understand. That's not just in our brain, that's how our subconscious is operating through our energy field. So I just want to talk about one thing I learned at energy healing school is that the chakras develop at different ages. So I'm going to have to look at my notes later and tell you what exact, but like the root chakra is like, let's say 0 to 6, and that, and it may be a little younger than that. Anyway, I don't want to give them to you now because I don't have the full definitions, but they grow at different ages. I think just to give you the range, like the etheric one, the blue one at your throat chakra is about, the ideal age is like in its 20s, like when you're kind of at the peak of your development and your health. So if you think about the chakras developing with your ages, stuff that happens before your verbal is generally like connected to that root chakra experience. And then and going upwards through, so what's important to get at about this? Like, it's not so important to know the ages or even your energy field has layers. That's one thing that's important. And I want you to know that there's different levels of information moving through that. I guess that's what's important about this, that you're getting different information is feeding your subconscious awareness and even your conscious awareness on all these different levels of through the different chakras, right? So we have your physical and root chakra awareness. You have this deep emotional feeling center at the second chakra. You have your intellect at the third chakra. So that's giving you like factual information and numbers. And then you have this compassion center and change center. That's giving you completely different information than, the sound, and the etheric energy is giving you energy about time and timing and the etheric field. And then at the third eye, where you can communicate with your higher self or your guides or even God or the spirit realm, that's giving you a whole nother level of information. So, and then your crown chakra. Okay, when I went to a class called Chakra Basics a few weeks ago, and she said, if you picture, I showed you guys in the like a bar magnet a few weeks ago with the big eclipses. She said that the crown chakra doesn't have it's like sending energy down that comes, that's like a fountain. You're like, because the crown chakra is an output chakra, and that it's meant with gravity holds it and it keeps it in your field. So you're constantly generating energy like a bar magnet, right? If this was your north, and it's shooting out and coming down and coming back in through your feet, right? The bottom of the crown chakra, the other side of the crown chakra is at the base of your feet. So there's like energy coming in and circulating anyway. So it's not really as much, it can be, but it's not so much a receptive chakra is what I'm saying. The third eye is more receptive. So here's what I want to say about the subconscious. And there's stuff in your root chakra that's pre-verbal. I've worked with kids that were abused before the age of 3, and they have a very difficult time ever becoming conscious of their abuse because it's pre-verbal. Stuff that happens, as you get older is a little easier to grapple with because it becomes verbal and you can grapple with the beliefs that you have about it and memories, because oftentimes our memory is connected to our verbal development. So I would say childhood stuff is going to be okay. All of these things are, what I'm saying is there's all this activity going on in your subconscious. There's all the childhood stuff and programming that happens at relatively early ages. And then there's like our thoughts about it, which are largely shaped by our first and second chakras. Our heart center, which is a place where we can receive energy from other people and information, and like I say, compassion. That's giving us, right? And where we can connect and relate to others, right? That's one area where we can perhaps even receive information from someone else and be like, oh, I want to be like that, and change into that, right? And then I want to come back to the third eye. There's a whole different level of subconscious information going on through our third eye, because our third eye is connected to our physical senses, to our intuition, so our skin, our eyes, ears, everything that we taste and smell, that's all connected to the third eye, as well as our skin, which we feel, when we get the goose flesh on the back of our neck and stuff like that. All of that's connected to our third eye awareness. So a lot of that's happening to us if we're not attempting to be consciously aware of it, right? We're smelling things all the time and seeing things, and it's all happening. So, okay, so back to the moon. What if the moon rules this, has a connection to this energy field? It's bringing up stuff, right? Or I don't know if the moon brings it up, but it's helping us ebb and flow, and we're connecting with these different, right? We're constantly in motion, and stuff's coming in from our guides, stuff's coming in from spirit, stuff's coming in from other people, but also stuff's already inside of us, partially generating our experience. And we use the moon to we align with the moon and attune to the moon to increase our conscious awareness of these different, I don't know, they're not different realities, but these different vibrations, I guess, of our
And,
subconscious
and
awareness.
phases too, and phases in our life,
And phases. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
When I think about the base and the root chakra, I think about being an infant, and sometimes I think about being by my mother's side, but my mother was so sick I wasn't able to be with her because she couldn't take care of me. So
Hmm.
I was gifted to my grandmother who did everything she could, but she wasn't able to nurture me like I needed. So I do have stuff in my root.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think, when you think about your root chakra, and you think about infancy, and you think about your children, how often were you able to keep them on your body
Hmm.
and keep them safe and keep them in an environment of quietude so they could actually establish that that root into
Hmm.
their life. I think you're right. I think the chakras derive from infancy, a higher level,
Hmm.
to, like you said, 20s or 30s. That's beautiful. But I do think there's a lot to that. The kids who are not nurtured as infants
Hmm.
generally have a hard time with all the other chakras, or they can't
Definitely,
develop. They
because the
don't develop.
development of those early ones does affect the
You have to
development of the
develop your
subsequent.
root chakra before
Yeah,
any of the other ones can be developed,
that's
right?
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, like I said, traumatic events in those early ages, or like, when, like you said, when you don't keep your kids next to your body or whatever, and they feel abandoned or they have attachment issues, those cause tremendous, right? That causes um, a lot of pain and suffering in the energy field. Do you know what I mean? Like, and like not optimal for the growth of the human individual. I've seen some pretty tragic stuff as a result of that kind of experience. Um, and so, like I say, this is a good opportunity, like you're saying, Angie. The moon work is, I do believe fundamentally that it's a healing tool, because part of the reason why we um okay, I guess in order to change and grow and develop a more comfortable life, or deal with any of the issues, our prosperity or our self-worth or our boundaries, or you know what I mean, we really have to heal our energy field, right? Or we're always going to attract, if you believe in the law of attraction, you're always going to attract back what your energy field is putting out there. It doesn't matter, it doesn't. So the moon work, I think there's this, you know this is where I'm speculating, but I do think it matters when we put down our dreams. We're putting it out there to the universe that this is what we want. I do think we get help from our guides. I do think we get help from God and our higher selves. And it's kind of a miracle, I think, that considering how the subconscious works, that we are able to use our conscious awareness and our conscious desires to change and grow. Like, there's a lot of people, I think, I've started to realize there's a lot of people that aren't really, that are just living on autopilot, and they don't have a very happy life. Actually, I saw that this weekend at the basic seminar. Like, it was kind of tragic. This group of people as a whole was very apathetic, and they did an exercise that indicated that they had really lost hope in their life, that they really weren't engaging with their life, or it was like kind of a hopeless feeling. And I don't know where I'm going with that, but I, it takes, I get what really I wanted to talk about. It takes courage to delve into this work. It takes courage to ask for your dreams. It takes courage, okay, I'll put that on here. It takes courage to dream. So on the new moon, I was going to review the moon cycle, but on the new moon, it takes courage. It really takes courage to be a dreamer, even, and be like, I'm going to ask for my dreams. And it takes courage in the same way. And I think this is related to the moon work in general. It takes courage to even believe that you have the power and the creativity to create what you want in your life, and to do the self-reflection necessary to change. And in the same way, at the first quarter, it takes courage to take action on your dreams and to do the supportive actions, and to face your resistance as it comes up, and to continue to take action. It takes courage on the full moon. It takes courage to look at your life honestly and to do the self-reflection that's the moon that's available, right? I mean, and to really look at what's going on in your life and then take it in as somehow, like I say, not in a blaming way, but in a way that's responsible for yourself, and also non-judgmental. Like, okay, this is what I'm creating. I don't fully understand it, although I want to, you're making, at the full moon, you are examining what's going on and have the opportunity to see yourself in a way that's hard to see, I think, in the new moon. And also to hopefully energize you to keep going, right? And on one hand, to see that the changes that you've made, and the growth and the progress and the beauty and the clarity, and also see the areas of darkness that are like, oh, I want to keep going, I want to keep working in that way, right? I'm sure we've all had the, because you guys have been doing it long enough, that you've had the experience that you're like, yay, I figured this one area out. And then it's like, oh, I still have to work in this other area. I mean, that takes courage, I think, to be like that. I'm going to take that on. And it takes courage on the last quarter to forgive. It takes courage to surrender. And it takes courage to release and let go, especially if you're going into the unknown. Most people, in my experience, opt to have the familiar, and they would rather just keep their situation the way it is rather than mess with it. You know what I mean? Rather than, right? A lot of people, it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to, I mean, for all of us, to have behaviors that keep us disconnected or unaware. And so it does take courage to do this moon work, and to be so to continually engage in the process of creating a life that you want. And so again, I partially put this slide on for Mark and for Noemi and Barbara, although they're not here, but they can look at the slides. As you guys know, the moon is like a magic mirror, and it is, I think, like I said earlier, more profoundly connected to us energetically. That sometimes I think of it as like out there, but I'm starting to believe we're more profoundly connected to it than we're aware of. And that it's like like I was saying about the magnet, it's moving, and it's moving us, and it's helping, right? Just like breathing or anything, it's helping create that energetic movement that we need to cleanse and clear, and to have things from childhood come up. I don't know if you've ever experienced or if you had anything where you have like a seasonal trauma. It's not as bad anymore, but my dad died in June, at the beginning of June. And in May, it used to be when I was in high school, I started to notice the pattern that I would basically leave my body in May and go into a state of I couldn't cope. I was just out of it for 6 weeks. And then I started to realize it was connected to my dad's death and the grief. And I couldn't, I just couldn't stay in my body and deal with the grief of that particular annual event and of that anniversary. But the moon is like movement, right? The moon is part of that movement of the energy, and as things come to our awareness. And so, I mean, what I wanted to say about that is sometimes there's stuff that's not okay. You've probably had an insight where you were like, oh my God, I didn't see that. And all of a sudden you see it. And then, you work with it and it kind of goes away. And then, like, at some random time later in the future, it comes up again. And you're like, huh? Like, where did it go? Right. But it's always with this. It's whether it's in our awareness or not. Somehow the moon is affecting that movement of our subconscious and our awareness, is what I'm saying. Like, there's a movement going on between the sun and the moon and the seasons and the earth and our auras that's causing this ebb and flow of awareness. And that's part of the dance, I guess, of that awareness. I don't know if it's causing it or if we're a reflection of it, but we're part of that dance. And this work, in particular with the moon, because of how it relates to our psyche, is about how we work with it consciously and how we work with it in a healing way. And then the solar work that we do is part of that as well, because of course that's a huge the sun has a huge effect on our electromagnetic field as well, and is related to more of that higher conscious self and how we develop our conscious awareness. So as you guys know, I'm just going to run through this for other students. You know that the moon wheel is a map. It's got the 4 directions, as you know, and has the 4 parts of self. Okay, like I say, I had concluded this for some other students. The circle is a representation of the spirit, and it's a complete container, much like our aura is a container. And we do our moon wheel. I think we do different things with our moon wheel, but we are always kind of like putting in this container of our, we're making this artistic representation of our spirit and intentionally affecting our spirit, right? It's like a magical practice, I suppose. So this full moon wheel is a map of yourself and your results. It is a self-portrait on some level, maybe not a literal self-portrait, but it is a self-portrait and a mirror of what's happening in your life, or it can be. And it is also a compass in the sense that it can tell you where you're at and where you might want to go and how you could change course. And as we've talked about, it is a powerful tool to assess the balance in your life. So I put that in last month. We've talked a lot about balance, and it might be good to look at, this is an exercise they do at this basic seminar, but to look at, to like rate the different areas, like rate the mental area and the physical and the emotional and the spiritual. I think it's a good, I was fascinated. I rated mine this weekend. Let's see, I think I had maybe I put 8 or 9 in the spiritual and 8 or 9 in the emotional, but then my physical health is where I've been struggling this year. And also maybe, mental, I don't feel like I struggle so much on the mental level, but in terms of, if you think about the financial, like I still working on, I'm still figuring that area out, the financial. So I think I gave myself maybe a 6 or 7 in the financial and a 6 in the physical, just because I'm not where I want to be physically. But that's a good, I mean, that's an interesting way of looking at, that's just an interesting way of looking at where you feel like you're at in terms of balance for the full moon. And showing you where you might want to put more attention and energy. It definitely, I've improved this year physically, partially because I've been doing a lot of during the eclipse, I did a lot of releasing, and I did that exercise with the burying and looked at like the energy, like what was going on in my, with the pain in my back and what was going on. Maybe I was having a lot, I'm going through like perimenopause where like my energy is changing because I'm probably about, heading towards losing my period. So like my hormones are all off and stuff like that. So, I've been like looking at my energy, in my mind's eye, looking at my energy field and see what's going on, and then, do some releasing and then take new steps on how I can improve that. Anyway, I'm going to leave this one. You guys know how to do a full moon wheel. I would say I add this more for some of the new students. And I think, I was actually wrong, but okay, should I pray now, or yeah, let me pray now and then we can talk some more. Grandmother Earth, Grandfather Sky, power of the four directions, all of our ancestors, we send a voice. Grandmother, grandfather, help us to grow and heal and have what we desire. Help us primarily in this full moon time to see what's going on and to look. Give us peace in our hearts about whatever we see about our subconscious thinking and our lives. Give us peace with any doubt or questions about our worth that we have. Give us peace as we go on this healing journey. Help us to return to a place of playful innocence so that we know that we can fight for what is right for ourselves. Give us that strength and courage of the warrior to fight for what is right for us. Grandmother, grandfather, this is the last full moon of this solar year for us. It is a Sagittarian sun and a Gemini moon. Sagittarius being expansive and courageous and honest, and the mercurial Gemini energy being very communicative. So help us draw in this energetic Sagittarian, perhaps sharp fire energy to see, and help us take that mercurial energy to articulate and to be honest and to be able to see with that honesty of ourselves and to communicate that to ourselves so that we have more understanding about who we are, and we have more understanding of what we want, and to have more understanding about what we want to let go. Thank you, God, Great Spirit, for giving us the courage to fight the good fight, to continue to work on ourselves and our light, to continue to create change and healing in ourselves that we then bring to others. Help us to hunt and gather this full moon wisdom. Help us to hunt and gather the energy and the courage. Help us hunt and gather the strength and the honesty and the awareness. We take a vow to continue to love ourselves and to grow and to learn and to be gentle as we are on this path, and strive for this living in this beauty way, for the sake of the children and the children's children, until the sun no longer sets and the moon no longer rises. Aho!
Thank you.